Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I am Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with this week's book review. A book review that is very special to Dalton.
About time, too.
Not particular... What do you mean about time?
About
All
time.
we read is your crap
We
anymore.
always read Adrian books, and it's my turn.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, these were...
is a Clockwork Orange. Anthony Burgess?
I say Burgess.
We're going to pronounce it wrong anyway, so I'm just going to get them all out of the way now. So...
when it doesn't have any hiccups.
Nice. The NADSAT language defines everything. The science fiction in this is both real and terrifying. And the ending is not happy, it is just real. And that makes it better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not the ending of, oh, he's cured and all this. The ending of, I'm passing this to my son. That ending.
Okay.
That little chunk. That is beautiful.
Okay.
Okay. 3 bad things.
The turn with the novelist writer who plays no real role, but is important to the novel, is very sophomoric.
Okay.
You've got a writer in the novel. I can't give you credit for it. 2, the slang is creative, but painstakingly pointed out at times.
Okay.
NADSAT is not a language.
Okay.
It is a slang.
Okay.
It is a subset of slang. That's it. It is a direct one-for-one translation.
Okay.
It has no idiosyncrasies of being its own language. So I'm going to get on you for that if you say it again. 3, the last chapter's bad.
Okay.
Last chapter's bad.
Okay.
And I will have a rant on this book coming soon because of the
preface?
The preface to this book.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You can see that coming, I imagine.
This can be a challenge to read if you just pick it up and you don't know what you're getting into. Alex, as a narrator, is pretty awful as a narrator.
How do you...
Alex is exhausting as a narrator.
Okay.
If that makes a little bit better sense.
Okay.
And the novel ends where it begins. You really go nowhere with this novel.
I would argue against... Is that your last one?
Yeah.
I would argue against that. I think this novel is too full circle.
Okay. Anyway, quote? You got a quote?
This from page 44... They don't go into what is the cause of goodness, so why the other shop? I thought that was very well put.
There you go. I have one here from 74. And then before he told me, I knew what it was. The old pizza? Pizza? How do you say that one? You got an idea?
Titsa.
Titsa?
The P-T-I-T-S-A?
Yeah, who had all the Kots and Koshkas had passed on to a better world in one of the city hospitals. I cracked her a bit too hard, like. Well, that was everything. I thought of all those Kots and Koshkas mewing for Maloka and getting none. Not anymore for the rest of their starry Farella of a mistress. That was everything. I'd done the lot now, and me only 15.
So, L-I-T-S-O. How do you say that one?
L-I-T-S-O? Litso?
Okay.
Hitchy and the Gulliver did it?
Yeah. Let's get the pronunciation of them.
Yes.
And many readers... You've admitted this on the show. When you don't understand the pronunciation of something, you gloss over it.
I gloss over it or I make up words. I made up so many words for Harry Potter that are not how they use them.
Right.
That's what I do.
Pizza
what I'm here for.
Is no...
He always has an ache in the Gulliver.
Yeah.
The first time I read this, for the day, it's in there. Where would you like to begin with this? Because there's a lot that can be talked about.
The first thing I would like to talk about is something that is extraneous to the novel.
Okay.
The Russian slang.
Yes.
And there's a lot of... The slang used in this is an offshoot of, like, Russian, right?
Yes, there's some Russian... I think there's
influence.
actually legitimate Russian words that are used as slang in here as well.
And there's a lot of talk of space travel.
Okay.
Right? Going back to space. He keeps talking about somebody going back to space, going to the moon.
Okay.
Right? This novel's written in 1962. Or published in 1962. Written before then. This is about the downfall of English culture, yes?
Very much so, I'd say.
So, is this a projection that the Russians won the space war?
Okay.
And are influential in Western culture now, as Western culture falls?
That's a good thought. Actually, I like that. That's a possibility you could really look into.
Here's the thing. If I change your view of this novel, what are you going to give me?
Nothing.
This is your favorite novel.
Yes.
If I make you look at this in a firmer, more illuminating light, I get nothing.
Do I let you pick what we read next?
I'll pick what we read next if I damn well please.
If you do look at it that way, because this is obviously
I think you've got to buy me a beer if I change your opinion on this novel.
I have never once in my life bought you a beer.
I know, and I think it has to happen if I change your opinion on this novel.
As long as I get to pick the beer.
All right, fine.
You'll regret it.
Fine.
You'll regret it. Anyway, now, if you look at this is supposed to be a dystopian novel, obviously.
Yeah.
So to say that, the Russians won the space race, whatever you want to call it, and now the Russian culture has enveloped itself into the Western world, that's interesting. I like that. I'm not sure how well it speaks towards the dystopian theme of things.
Because Western culture is falling.
Unless you're looking at Russia from a Western viewpoint, where Russia's... we kind of pushed off, yeah.
Russia's more eastern from the west than the north that no one prods.
Yes. But no, that's an interesting point. I actually really kind of like that as a thought process. And I'm just mumbling now because I had something I wanted to say until you said, buy me a beer, and now it's gone. Totally gone.
Russian slang, space travel.
It's gone.
Fall of England.
It will come back.
Okay.
And probably like when you're mid-thought. So, say something else.
Alex seems to believe in a type of predestination. Some people like good things, some people like bad things. So why punish either, right?
Okay. Alex, the character, is very interesting, and I think very much immortalized in the film, the Kubrick film, with this.
Right. What the fuck are we doing? Alex?
There you go. Put Alex up there. Look at us. That's going to fall over. Here, just put him in place of my novel.
Okay.
The character of Alex is very interesting for a lot of reasons. We get here a very young criminal who's enveloped in the culture of the time, the whole NADSAT culture.
Does not think about it.
Does not think about it. That is what he is. He is embedded with a criminal mind, but he also has a love and a passion for classical music, which I think there's a lot going on with that there.
Like
this
what?
is the... Where's my note? This is more so the music that calms the beast, if you want to go with that trope there. This is a dangerous man. This is a dangerous criminal. The first half of the... First quarter, third, whatever you want to call it, of the novel, math's not my strong point, this is a murderer. But the only thing that really is saying that music is what calms the beast.
I don't know that is necessarily fair because the music is brought up in the post-trauma dalliances most often, right?
Oh, the music.
He is a murderer, a rapist, and a child molester.
Yes.
Let's not just say murderer. So what does he do? He brings 2 young girls home and molests them.
Yes.
And then listens to Beethoven.
Okay.
So...
And that may be the first time, because he had just bought the record.
I think music was mentioned before.
It's mentioned that is the first time he listens to it.
Yes.
Which makes it very sinister in ambiance, really.
Yeah. If you want to make an argument about what it is that tames the beast, what tames the beast is science.
Okay.
Right?
I guess so, with the Ludovico technique.
Now, here's a couple things that might change the way you look at things as well.
Okay.
Is this novel a metaphor for giving up our lives to become a member of the workforce? We forfeit what we believe in for conformity, right? He seems at the beginning of this novel to believe wholeheartedly in the NADSAT culture, right?
Yes.
He doesn't question it. He questions why you would question it. If some people just believe in good and we don't question them, why do we question people that believe in the bad?
Okay.
We're just born this way. So he goes to school, which is the prison. He graduates the prison and goes to the college, which is the injections in the movies. Ludovico, is that what you said?
Ludovico.
Ludovico. The Ludovico technique. And then becomes a productive member of society when all of the things that he loves in his youth no longer make sense to him.
Okay.
And he forfeits everything to become an adult. And now he wants a baby waby.
Yes, he does, at the very end. Thank you for saying baby waby. It makes me very happy. Now, if we're going to be talking about NADSAT culture and the workforce and things, 1964, correct?
Yes. 62.
62? Is this the 1950s and the counterculture?
Sure, but it is a death of the counterculture, is it not?
Absolutely so. But as Alex is representing, if you're going to go with this argument, the counterculture.
Yeah.
He is the hippie movement, if you will. That is the NADSAT movement.
But you're going to grow up anyway.
But you're going to grow up anyway. You're going to get there. We're going to make you. We're going to fix you.
Yeah.
But this is the polar opposite of what the hippie free love movement is. So a very dystopian 1950s, 1960s paradigm shift, if you will. And you get that with the parents as well. The parents are very classic P&M. They're classic 1950s parents.
Right.
They sit at home. They don't do much.
They go to work.
They go to work. Son, you made some money. What did you do today? Don't worry about it. Here's the money.
Right.
Classic. I think that's my interpretation of a novel more than anything. That's what we're looking at here. This is the dystopian counterculture.
So do you want me to blow your mind?
Blow my mind.
Is this novel Frankenstein? Frankenstein's monster? Is he Frankenstein's monster? He lives his life. He dies in prison. He is resurrected through science.
Okay.
He is still, after he is resurrected, hated, right? And there are different factions trying to make him a point of political import, right?
Okay.
This is proof. This is work against God. This is science against God. This boy was a real living human being, and we made him a product of science. He has no choice in what he does.
Okay.
Anything there at all?
It's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
I think so.
I think I'd like to
blow
reread
my
this
mind.
novel, and with that in mind, after reading Frankenstein.
Okay.
So maybe I will do a lit crit on the two once we get there. I keep talking about doing a series on lit crit, and I've never done it. So
We'll get there. Now, you said NADSAT's not a language. Okay, we'll roll with that. NADSAT is crucial to the success of this piece, though. So much is defined through NADSAT.
Okay.
If we are going to go with the idea that this is the dystopian counterculture, NADSAT is what differentiates the counterculture. This is the changing of the times. This is, you can even look at it through technology. This is the kids possessing something that the older generation do not understand.
right.
F. Alexander, the author, only recognizes Alex when he decides to use the NADSAT in his home, and that's when he turns on him, because that's how he recognizes him from the past crime.
Right.
But the NADSAT itself defines these characters as this generation. This is what makes them dangerous. They're not dangerous unless they're enveloped in this cultural change. This is the 1950s parents fearing this counterculture revelation. So absolutely important to this piece. And not only that, it's a world-building tool. This takes you outside of what would just be considered a novel in England at some point in the future, whatever. This defines this as a different world almost.
Right.
A different time. This takes the reader out of the place, and it's beautiful the way it's done. How long did it take to write this book?
Is that a legitimate question? Or?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I would have
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
This is a 3-week novel.
Really?
Yep. So I figured you'd appreciate that.
I do
nonetheless.
appreciate
There
that.
you
It's
go.
always interesting to see literary tours de force like that. I think it was As I Lay Dying by Faulkner that was written in a month, as he was also working at a factory.
Yeah.
Have you read As I Lay Dying?
No.
Holy shit, it's beautiful.
Is it?
It is tragic and beautiful and dark and depressing and funny. We'll have to get to it for the channel. But
Put it on my list. Now I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's Cocaine. So
the original Scream movie?
Yeah.
I know that's cross-generation or genre, but apparently it was a weekend.
Rocky Balboa, wasn't that filmed in like no time at all?
Filmed, I don't know. But Scream was written in a weekend.
What are we doing with our lives?
I don't know.
Anyway, what else you got to talk about with this here?
I think you have to, with this novel, get around to religion, right?
Okay.
Because it has to do with predestination. The prison guard believes that free will and goodness come from the inside, and man has to choose to do so.
Okay.
Right?
Do what's best
but
for Bog.
if you're choosing to do so, that works against predestination, right?
Yes.
Because I am stuttering like hell this week. I don't know what it is. So when they're in prison, what is it? It's little 6655321.
6655. I'll give you that one for sure. But I don't know
It's
the others.
6655321.
Anyway.
Because they skipped the 4 for some reason. So I wonder if there's something there. But they're marked Mark of the Beast, right?
Yes.
So really, what you've got when you start looking at it, Alex is man. The Minister of the Interior Inferior is God,
Okay.
making sure that man has free will. F. Alex is the devil, trying to tempt man into one belief or another.
Okay.
So I think that's that is an interesting way to look at it, especially when you consider that the Minister of Interior Inferior is mentioned throughout the novel, but only appears at the end.
Okay.
Right? Only appears at the end, like
Yes.
God would. F. Alexander appears at the beginning, ish. Forces wrongdoing, ish. Right.
Okay, that's all right. Ludovico technique. Any thoughts on that?
I thought it was interesting.
Okay. This, to me, seems to be the science fiction of the novel, for sure. But this seems to be not too far-fetched. This seems realistic. It seems to be based in some kind of fact.
Right.
This is just base-level association.
Yeah.
However, this is beautiful when taken from the perspective of criminal justice. How you rehabilitate a criminal.
Right.
This is a perfect government stance on that. Because in this situation, yeah, we fixed him. He's not going to kill anybody. He's not going to hurt anybody. He'll, begin vomiting, basically, if he has a thought of it. But they did not cure him. They did not rehabilitate him. They just fixed the problem, sent him off on his way. So through that, this is very beautiful in the fact that it is very realistic. In such an off-putting, distant, dystopian world, it is based in such easy reality such as that.
For today. Yeah. And it is interesting to see the difference when he is incarcerated, it is punishment. When he is undergoing the Ludovico, we also get into the dynamics of the difference between punishment and rehabilitation.
Yes.
Which is something that pops up in culture very often.
Yeah.
The capital punishment, right?
Okay.
Do you want to punish or do you want to rehabilitate? Capital punishment says nothing at all for rehabilitation.
Yeah.
It
But
just
it'll
says,
punish.
We'll lock him up until we can put the chemicals in him.
Yeah. I don't know. Just that, for me, seems to be the science behind this. It really embeds this as a real and a possible world.
So I'm interested in what your interpretations of a novel are. What are the literary merits that you find in here? What is the What? What are you looking at me like that for? I'm asking you a legitimate question. That's what we're here for, isn't it?
This is the trap. This is the trap that I always fall into. But go on, please do.
No. Well, what are your interpretations of the novel?
When I first read this, like I said, this was my senior AP English class.
Right.
Much
Read it again since then, yes?
Yes. Much to the credit of the teacher at that time, he basically gave us a list of classics, and he said, this is literature. This is what you're going to write your final on. I picked this. He said, you ain't going to have fun with this. I said, I really want to. It's an interesting title. I've heard a lot of things about it. I've seen the movie. I'd like to go for this. That was my first step. What really sold me on this is the immersion of the Nadzat language. And yes, I called it a language again. I know you don't care for it and it's just slang.
It's not that I don't care for it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's catchy.
Okay. That's what really impressed me with this whole thing.
Okay.
Looking from like a linguistic standpoint, the idea of creating a language for your novel really sells me. That pulls on my heart. This is Tolkien writing the Elven language.
No, it is not.
And this is Nadsat here.
Far be it from me to give credit to J.R.R. Tolkien, but the Elven language was a language.
Okay.
These are words.
Okay. But to do this completely transports the reader. This is an element of fantasy genre. I mean, this clearly isn't fantasy by any means, but this creates a completely different world that the reader must immerse themselves in. And in that world, although it's completely different because you have completely different language, and as a high school senior, this was difficult to sit and plot out the words and figure out what the hell I'm reading. It's 100% realistic. It feels real. It is real. This is a very realistic possibility of what is to come. So there's a dystopian theme to this. This was my first real experience with the dystopian theme.
Fantasy or sci-fi.
Okay.
Right? Because there are little elements of both things in a very realistic world.
And that's the thing. Shortly after high school is when I hit sci-fi and fantasy hard. I'm trashy sci-fi. But that's what really sold me on this, and that's something I've always held and loved with this. I think this also takes a lot of risks as a novel. And we talk about the idea of dangerous writing through Polinick and Thompson. Takes risks.
But it is not dangerous writing risks. They are not dangerous writing risks that this takes.
You don't think so?
No. The dangerous writing, what that is saying things which would embarrass. Is there anything in there that the protagonist seems embarrassed by?
Embarrassing the protagonist, no. Starting off your novel with the molestation of two 10-year-olds, pretty big risk to take there.
Right, but see, that's going into a misinterpretation of the dangerous writing genre.
Okay, maybe I'm misinterpreting the genre, but to do that, and to still hold the author's attention, and to use that to create the depravity of the character, is pretty impressive.
Right, okay. Okay.
And we talked a little bit about Burgess' earthly powers. I don't know, did we talk about that on the show? Or was that just us?
That might have been a variety. Anytime we've said anything to each other, we wonder if it was on the show.
But the opening line of Earthly Powers, which was nominated for the Man Booker and almost won it, pretty much the same premise. It's just going as far as you can go to get the reader's attention and then drawing them back, but using that to develop your character.
Right.
So, pretty impressive from a writing standpoint, in my opinion.
Okay. I was not all that impressed with the actual writing, though.
Okay.
But I think the way that this novel ends 3 or 4 times before it ends.
Okay.
Right.
Now, we haven't talked much about the ending.
Right.
Now, I do think it's wonderful, and again, very realistic, that at the end of this, Alex has become an adult. He's gotten away. But in a twist on reality where, the parent usually wants the better world for their child, Alex basically says, I really hope I can pass on this world of chaos to my son. He can do so much more.
Can do so much more. How did you get that as being passing on the chaos?
It's not he can do so much more, he can do so much better. Alex wants to create another Alex. A darker and more twisted Alex.
I am interested in where that is in the text.
Oh, that's in there. Come on.
He just left the bar in order to go look at pictures of babies. Like, I think that represents a 180 turn. It doesn't represent 360.
It's 360. It has to be.
Based on what?
You can't take the character and basically he gets out of prison, he's cured. He goes through the reversal of the technique, now he's back to his old self. And then once he says, this isn't for me, I have to get away from this, immediately say, I'm going to have a child.
No, he was talking about getting away from the violence.
Because I think it's all the same.
He sent his friends off to go do the droog things.
Yes.
And then he goes back to his home to look at pictures of baby wavies.
I think he's passing it to his son.
I don't think that's there, especially after reading the preface.
You don't think so?
No.
I think
Anthony Burgess thinks that this character is completely cured, and he has to do the moralization for the audience. That's why that last chapter is in this edition.
I think it's the opposite. I really do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would love to see you do that with the text.
So this needs to be my couple to your rant video?
Yes.
Is the couple to the ending chapter?
Yes.
Okay.
But when before the book we have the author saying, you stupid fucking Americans, he turns into a good guy at the end, and that's why you need this last fucking chapter, because I am the moral arbiter here. Now read the last chapter and tell me I done good.
Okay.
Then and maybe my interpretation was colored because I did read the preface.
Okay.
Perhaps I would have seen things the exact same way that you did without reading it, because I doubt that you did in high school.
Right? No, absolutely not.
Right.
I very rarely read the preface for anything.
Right.
If it's not a numbered page,
Yeah. And it is numbered in here, I think.
Not in my edition.
Not in your edition?
Nope. I have Roman numerals.
Okay. What would you rate this novel?
I high rated this. And I know you're going to be pissed about that because, I'm not allowed to enjoy something on this channel. I gave this a 94. This has always been one of my favorite novels. I've always enjoyed it. I'm going to give it my high rating.
I can see this being an enjoyable novel.
Yes.
And I can see a lot of things in here. I think really that preface killed it for me.
Okay.
But I gave this 88 droogs out of 100.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
This isn't one... I didn't get a text this week saying, I hate you so much.
Right.
Please come down here and end this.
But this isn't in my top 10, 15, or probably 20, but it's not in my bottom either.
Okay.
What would you recommend?
1984, George Orwell.
Okay.
I think that's very fitting to the dystopian reality of things, a realistic science fiction approach. I think everything I said about this can be captured by Orwell as well.
I would say Escape from Spiderhead by George Saunders.
Okay.
Because it's very much the same thing going on.
I didn't know if you were trying to show me something or like...
No.
Like, look, I accidentally wrote 1984, I'm going to play it off.
I've got it written up into the curve of the notebook here.
Fair enough.
I had to read it.
I Escape from Spiderhead, I say the same thing. Very dystopian, very realistic science
Using
fiction.
chemicals to change people, right? Injections,
There you go.
things like that. I think that these two complement each other very well. Follow us on Twitter, @StripCover. On Facebook, @StripCoverLit.
That was fast. You just, like, slid right into that. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And I will say this. I know a lot of people have read along with us with Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people have picked this up recently because when they say, Dalton, what should I read? I say, Clockwork Orange. Why don't you drop a video? Let us know what you think about this, what you have any comments about what we're saying, and let's argue a little bit about this because we have very varying opinions.
Yeah.
Yes.